We're delighted to have Lily Zeng today to speak about sacred groves and holy hills in a very special area of China. Her title, as you can see, is Problematizing Ideas of Purity and Timelessness in the Conservation Narratives of Sacred Groves, a case study with holy hills from Xishuangbanna in southwest China. This is in Yunnan Province, an area that is noted for tremendous diversity, both cultural diversity of minority peoples and biodiversity of plants, of animals. This particular case study of the holy hills and the sacred groves is quite extraordinary, and Lily has been working on it for many years. She first studied with James Miller up in Queen's University in Canada, and then came here to Yale to study at the School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. Her work is a remarkable case study of religion and ecology on the ground, where people are recreating as well as preserving the forests in this area through local communities, work that is both scientific, policy, and culturally based. Here's where religion, worldviews, and values matter for conservation for future generations. I hope you enjoyed this talk.
Hi, my name is Lily, and I'm a PhD candidate at Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies and the New York Botanical Garden. I'm so thrilled today for the opportunity to talk about my work with holy hills in Xishuangbanna, southwest China. And these are sacred groves that are protected by indigenous Dai communities. So sacred groves are fragments of forest protected by local communities for religious reasons, and they've been receiving increasing attention from scientists and environmental advocates for the potential to balance conservation goals with social benefits for local communities. However, the recent promotion of sacred groves in conservation tends to paint a picture of sacred groves as pristine and timeless relics of climax forest, guarded by indigenous cultures whose purity is vulnerable to change and modernity. This framing of sacred groves as religious strongholds against change erases the fact that indigenous peoples have long negotiated the meanings of sacred nature and the maintenance of sacred groves with other forms of land use shaped by state and market pressures. My fieldwork with ethnic minority Dai communities in Xishuangbanna showed me firsthand that these assumptions of purity and timelessness in forests and people from the sacred grove conservation literature were often inaccurate and problematic. So for those of you who are new to this region of the world, Xishuangbanna is a prefecture in Yunnan Province on the border of Laos and Myanmar, and it contains the world's northernmost tropical rainforest and China's richest biodiversity. Although Xishuangbanna covers only 0.2% of China's land area, the region contains 16% of China's plant biodiversity. This region is beautiful, as you can see in the picture, but lowland forest is being decimated as it is converted to rubber monoculture. From 1976 to 2003, 140,000 hectares of lowland forest, which is shown here in the lime green, was replaced by rubber, which is shown here in the red, and that is a reduction in forest cover by 67%. The only remaining forest fragments outside nature reserves are sacred groves called holy hills, and they are fragments of threatened lowland forest protected by ethnic minority Dai communities for religious reasons. Dai people have been Buddhist since Buddhism was introduced around 700 AD during the Tang Dynasty. So you can see here in this picture of a Dai village that there's a temple in the back. But holy hills predate Buddhism as a form of polytheistic nature and ancestor worship. So you can see these holy hills towards the side here. Dai people still protect holy hills, which usually means no cutting trees, because even though they believe in these Buddhist ideas of reincarnation, they also believe that they still need protection from holy hill spirits in this life. There were previously over 1,000 holy hills in Xishuangbanna, but several were destroyed during political campaigns in the 60s and 70s. And since the 1980s, many forests were then converted to rubber plantations. Today, less than 250 holy hills remain. During my fieldwork, I've seen holy hills with towering trees to fit the conservation image of pristine forest remnants in a sea of rubber. But I've also seen holy hills that don't fit the mold, such as at the holy hill in the Dai village of Manlang. So Manlang's holy hill was completely cut down and planted with commercial firewood trees called Senecio Mia during the Cultural Revolution in the 1970s. When policies changed in the 1980s under Deng Xiaoping, the village of Manlang recreated their sacred grove by consecrating a patch of land and letting the trees grow back. With all the emphasis and conservation on preserving forest, what is remarkable here is that after a forest was destroyed, it can be resurrected through this community's connection with the sacred.